I'd like to call Mr. Shalik Jogwe. Mr. Shalik Jogwe is an avid wildlife photographer, naturalist, and owner of Vidarbha Wildlife. He has a keen interest to protect wildlife and promote livelihoods for people living in and around the jungle through tourism. As an adventure lover, Mr. Shalik Jogwe brings to our platform a unique dimension of adventure tourism, conservation of wildlife and its emerging trends in Maharashtra. As a language teacher from 1998 to 2012, he has excellent communication skills, which has been instrumental in promoting this cause through multiple platforms of media. His understanding of photography has added a lot of depth to his body of work in promoting wildlife conservation, which is very close to his heart. Being sensitive to wildlife issues, Mr. Jogwe has championed myriad initiatives, making him an eminent personality in the adventure sector. So Mr. Jogwe is going to talk about the wildlife potential in Maharashtra, sanctuaries and upcoming projects, opportunities and threats. Mr. Jogwe.
First of all, to begin with, let us know what is Maharashtra, and particularly in context to India. In a whole nation, we are the third largest state. To let you know, we are the third largest state, having the geographical area almost 9.36% of India's total geographical area. We are having 7.77% of India's forest area and harbors the largest biodiversity amongst any of our state. This is the great matter of pride for us here for this state. Then particularly in Maharashtra state, we are having 3,07,713 square kilometer area, of which 61,939 square kilometer of forest area, particularly the thick forest area we are having. This total area constitutes 20% of total geographical area of Maharashtra. This area, total forest area, particularly thick forest area, I'm again and again repeating, the thick forest area, mainly divided into Western Ghats along the coastline, which is identified as a biodiversity hotspot. And as you all know, this Western Ghats is declared as under UNESCO's World Heritage Site as well. Then it is divided into Satpura landscape in the northern part of the state and Gondwana in the eastern part of the state, that is Vidarbha region. Then grassland habitat in central India. This is one more area, particularly around Satara and other places in Pune, Satara and this area, where the forest is not thick that much, but it has the grasslands, it has its own potential. Out of this total forest area, which is mainly divided into 4 parts particularly, the biodiversity of wildlife is mostly found in Vidarbha region. That is in Gondwana area. This map, if you go through the map, you can see it very clearly. All the 4 regions which I mentioned, the coastal line, that Western Ghats. Then at the top, you can see started from the Gujarat, the border area of Gujarat, the Satpura ranges. Then the Gondwana region, that you can see around Chandrapur and Gadchul districts. That the end area, the eastern area, last eastern area, you can see that is the Gadchul district, having the largest cover. And if you go through the down of the image, you can see the complete Indian map of the forest cover. In these forest areas, we can definitely call our state the land of the wild. We are having 43 wildlife sanctuaries, 3 bird sanctuaries, 1 marine sanctuary, that is Malwan Marine Sanctuary, then 6 national parks, and 6 tiger reserves, which are formed from this existing 43 wildlife sanctuaries and 6 national parks. Then more than 11,000 square kilometer area is covered under the protected area in these wildlife sanctuaries and national parks. We are having very rich biodiversity, very rich potential of wildlife among all these areas. That we have more than 120 species of mammals, 560 species, more than 560 species of birds, over 100 species of reptiles, and tremendously more than 30,000 species of insects. This is such a tremendous potential we are having to explore in our state, in Maharashtra. But sadly, so far it was not. So far, we are in tourism, if we'll talk about the tourism in Maharashtra wildlife, we have enriched wildlife and wildlife experiences. In last recent years, Maharashtra wildlife came up very fastly as a place of happening. The tourism is very rapidly growing because of all these things, and particularly the conservation efforts, protection efforts, and the enrichment of wildlife in Maharashtra. Then we noted significant growth in domestic and foreign tourists. I personally experienced it way back in 2000, 2002. It was not much at all anyways in wildlife, particularly in wildlife of Maharashtra. But after 2006 and 7, say 2006, 7, very personally, I experienced this rapid growth in foreign tourists as well. Earlier it was supposed to move, particularly the foreign tourists were supposed to move to Rajasthan and MP, Madhya Pradesh in these areas. But now they are also visiting the Vidarbha region, Maharashtra wildlife. One of the main causes behind this thing and the growth of tourism is infrastructure development happened in these recent years. Earlier there were no proper lodges or places to stay. There was no proper connectivity. But now it is pretty well developed. I can't say that it is really very good, but still it is under development and it is well developed. More positive, then one more factor that is really very much important is more positive and tourist-friendly approach of various stakeholders, including local and government agencies. This is the point where we are literally need to work a lot. We are working a lot, we have worked a lot and supposed to work a lot in future as well. This is also one of the reasons why wildlife tourism in Maharashtra was not flourished like Madhya Pradesh or Rajasthan in earlier days. But now when all the government agencies are literally coordinating properly, the locals are also getting empowered due to wildlife tourism and from the benefits out of it. So it is slowly and very nicely it is getting done. The national and international exposure to various wildlife areas by social medias, even some TV channels, media houses. A lot of our wildlife areas got shoot and it was filmed and presented on National Geographic and channels like Animal Planet, even Discovery. Then in some recent years, the tourism initiatives in wildlife areas are very seriously taken forwarded by the Forest Department itself. One of such activity by Forest Department is carried out in Malvan Marine Sanctuary under UNDP project. They started scuba diving and snorkeling under their own guidance and they are promoting it. Many more new sanctuaries, almost which will constitute, if all these sanctuaries will be sanctioned, almost 2,000 square kilometers of new area will be added, and this is the potential, this is one more additional potential where we have the lot of chances and opportunities, because these very rarely these sanctuaries will be declared as a tiger reserve. I don't know, but because you all know that tiger reserves have a lot of restrictions, lot of bans and regulations, and there are a lot of controversies also of course. But many more new sanctuaries under consideration, like Mura in Pune, then Mahabaleshwar in Satara, then Akola grassland in Akola and Vikhroli in Mumbai. There is one more opportunity which can be identified in future. Already work is started under WII and even the Maharashtra Forest Department and the research wing also trying to identify this corridor within the protected areas to provide the additional buffer, additional space for the wildlife and to sophisticate their movement in other areas. And one more important aspect of this corridor identification is to stop the inbreeding of the wildlife and to maintain the genetic pool more healthy and better. Then development of tourism corridor, which is the initiative of Maharashtra government. Even recently in one of the speech in tourism minister, even our CM also spoke about the development of tourism corridor. They are trying to to connect major tourism sites and wildlife areas, like even Maharashtra Tourism Development Corporation taken one such initiative by starting Deccan Odyssey. There are some developments they are particularly doing about ecotourism facilities. They are trying to identify the various sites in buffer areas. Now, to protect the core areas of the tiger reserve and some very sensitive areas of wildlife, there are buffer areas identified and declared, and government and particularly the department and the agencies that are working therein, even the NGOs are trying to find out the new opportunities and activities and particularly the sites for such areas. While developing the infrastructure around such any wildlife areas, it is must and care must be taken. It should not hamper, it should not damage the ecosystem of that particular wildlife area. So the villages which are already there in and around these wildlife areas, so government is trying to promote the local homestays only. So there will no additional space or land will be required, or no destruction needs to be done anymore. We have, as we are talking about, we have a lot of opportunities in all these wildlife areas. It's not only, when I started talking about the wildlife tourism or wildlife area, that time there are so far, I think, most of the people must have only one picture in their mind, that wildlife tourism means what? The jeep, the safari, and the tiger around, or maybe sloth bear, or maybe wild dog. So wildlife tourism doesn't mean only this tiger, or it should not be like tiger-centric only. There are a lot of things to explore in nature, in wildlife, lot of things to observe, lot of things to explore, to experience. We can have nature trails, we can have machan hide sitting, and this particular activity, machan or hide sitting, is I personally feel, being a wildlifer, that this is the best activity to know, to understand, to observe, and to study the wildlife, the birding, and the nature. Then, so far not explored, but there is opportunity in this field as well for hot air ballooning, river crossing, and in boating. Then around the marine wildlife sanctuaries, right now we are having one. There is a possibility, and rather than possibilities, the work is already started on scuba diving, snorkeling, and sailing. Then there are wildlife safaris, as usual part of wildlife tourism. Then this grassland areas, and even in the jungle, even in the wildlife where we will stay, we can have the opportunity to watch the skies, where the skies are normally free from any pollution. They are very clear, and there is no any tall structure or anything like that other than the jungle. From the open spaces, you will have the best of the opportunities for the sky watching. Then one more opportunity, that is that even the lot of agencies are trying to find out for the camping, the night camping, but definitely not in the very sensitive areas, but around areas where the areas are not will not be that much affected, or even the safety and security of the campers will not be in any trouble. There are a lot of opportunities. As I said, that wildlife tourism is not only meant for tigers or some particular carnivores only, but to know the culture. How? There is always one question, when we found any tiger or any carnivore around us, we have some fear in mind, but everybody thinks, and a lot of times even I was asked, that why there is no conflict in these local peoples who literally living in and around these wildlife areas, or with the wildlife only, why there is no conflict, or why they can live so happily or so easily. So instead of just having any lecture or let me tell you how they live, it's the great opportunity to know their community, their living, their culture, how they live, how they farms, how they live all together, the wildlife and these local people, by staying with them. Then there is one more opportunity which literally increased boosted a lot in recent years with the rise of the social media like Facebook, then some other social sites, other even forums like India Nature Watch and all other, for photography, and even for with the increase in proper infrastructure around these wildlife areas, you can have the corporate workshops as well around these places. Then you will have the great opportunity to photograph and study the endemic species. But some species which are really endemic, which are really, you will love to know, if you are a nature lover, if you want to photograph, if you want to study, if you want to observe, there are some points which I can definitely mention. There are Asiatic wild buffaloes in Gadcholi district. In Palan, sir mentioned about the Gadcholi. It has an enormous potential, definitely, but due to some socio-economic problems and some other problems, it is still neglected. But this Gadcholi has enormous potential. It has Asiatic wild buffaloes, even the teak therein. The forest mainly consists teak there, and the teak trees of Gadcholi districts are really the thing to see only. You can go to see that teak trees. There are chinkaras in Mayureshwar Wildlife Sanctuary. There is Rayakuri Blackbuck Sanctuary. I'm very specifically telling you about some of the very specific species, though of course I should not. There are then Great Indian Bustard. I don't know how many of you seen this species, but there are Great Indian Bustard Sanctuary in Solapur. Then we have one very good initiative with the tourism, hand in hand. There is one Velas Olive Ridley Turtle Conservation Project. I didn't say that it's any other words. Very specifically, I'm telling it's Velas Olive Ridley Turtle Conservation Project. You can visit this project, you can see, you can experience, you can document, and there is a lot of potential in such a field. Then there are clawless otter and dolphins in Malwan Marine Sanctuary. Even with this coastal line, even just in last month only when I was at Kashid Beach, though very rarely it was seen, and it was an experience that dolphins can be seen anywhere. But I was hanging around that beach, and suddenly I saw dolphins jumping here and there. I was literally very much happy. So you can see anywhere, but this Malwan Wildlife Sanctuary is very well known for this clawless otters and dolphins. Then there is Vashishti River crocodile, Vashishti River in Chiplun, and you can see the hundreds of crocodiles there. We used to go for a lot of things anywhere here and there, but we ourselves have the enormous potential with ourselves only. In the Sweetwater, we can see a lot of crocodiles in this Vashishti River. We can get a lot of opportunities to document them, to study them. Then we have Malabar giant squirrel in Bhima Shankar and other areas as well. Then we have Fansad Wildlife Sanctuary. This is such a place where one should and one must visit. You can walk, you can have the safari in a very different manner. It is on the bullock cart. There is very ample opportunity to study the reptiles and even the insects, even the birds. Then fireflies at Purushwadi near Ahmednagar. Very simple thing, but to experience it, it will be very great. Just try sometime. Then there is Matheran, you all know about it. Then there is one bird we are having in Melghat, forest owlet. This bird was supposed to extincted for almost 120 years. It was rediscovered in some parts in Melghat and in some other parts as well. Then we have grassland ecosystem in Satara and some other areas. Then we have Kauri flowering mostly seen in Western Ghats. Then Khas Plateau, we all know about this. Then we have hyenas and lot of such animals where we are literally having lot of opportunities to have. At the same time, we have some threats. This is very, very delicate, ecologically very, very delicate areas. While camping, while visiting these areas, we must have some things to know, what to do and what not to do. We must have some basic knowledge. Of course, you will be taught, you will come to know, you will be told by the local guides, your local resource persons, or whoever there will be with you. But some basic things we must know, that this is nature. This is nature, where we are supposed to close our mouth and rest open everything. Your eyes, your ears, your nose, and everything. Where this is a place where we are not supposed to do any party. This is the place where even the light, a light more than the limitation, will also impact and hamper the wildlife. Then there is one more threat in this field, that is, it has very limited tourist bearing capacity. Limited infrastructure, limited infrastructure, it means infrastructure developed in the, and normally allowed to develop, particularly in Maharashtra, is subject to the capacity of that particular wildlife area. It's not much more. And also there you can't expect a lot of, and being you are the adventure lovers and you are used to visit and travel in the hills, I don't think you will need it, but the infrastructure will have some basic amenities. It will not be very luxurious one. Then one more, as I said, that one more very big threat, and I sorry to say, but this is really a big threat, that irresponsible tourist and tourism. So all the tourists, even all the people all other people, I mean, even the operators, even the agencies, even the tourists, even the guides, the drivers, and all these people, they must be very well known. They must be well alive. They must have a very nice idea. They must know the balance. They must know how to maintain the serenity of that wildlife area. So this particular sector is also really needs to be taken care of. Then overcrowding sometimes. I personally seen, you also, a lot of people might have seen that in such wildlife areas where there will be any sighting or any particular thing is happening or any happening thing is going on, all the people used to crowd there, used to gather there, then everybody wants to do this thing and that thing and that thing. So this thing needs to be avoided very particularly. So that is why I said that even the tourist, even all the stakeholders of wildlife and tourism therein must know the balance, must know the limitations very particularly. I hope there are other medias as well from where you can get a lot of things, but it was my duty to put before you the potential of Maharashtra wildlife, and I'm proud of it that I'm the part of this wildlife area and this wildlife. Thank you very much. Thank you. Sorry, even I said thank you, but Apurva, let me take 1 minute only. I'm really overwhelmed to see, and I'm really thanks to ATConclave and Fitrangi for providing this opportunity to present wildlife on this adventure sector and accepting wildlife as a part of adventure activity. Thank you very much. Thanks all. Thanks once again.